Peace, family. This video right here is about the science of the Adam's apple and sonic geometry. So you have sacred geometry, and then you have sonic geometry. Now, with that being said, sacred geometry, as I broke down in my lecture titled The Science of Alchemy and Sacred Geometry, located on my website that you can access within this description. Hit the link that's provided for you below. Now, with that being said, once you watch that presentation, you should have a full understanding on sacred and sonic geometry. Now, with that being said, I'm going to give this video underneath the assumption that you've watched that lecture and you have this understanding. Now, with that being said, your Adam's apple, okay? We have to understand that the word Adam, okay, is also atom. So, A-D-A-M is just a personified fictional character that was created in representation of the atom, which is A-T-O-M. So now let me give you the science. They say that Eve came from Adam's rib. Now, atom, right? Atom's rib is DNA. When you look at a DNA molecule, a DNA strand, okay, with the helixes on the side, it looks just like a twisted ladder. It also looks like a rib cage. If you go pull up a picture of a rib cage and you pull up a picture of a DNA strand, they look damn near identical. So with that being said, Eve is the mitochondrial Eve gene. Remember, DNA comes from the cosmos. Atoms become DNA, and then from the form of DNAs that they form after becoming molecules and forming a molecular structure. Then they go on to become cells. Those cells go on to become tissues. Those tissues go on to become organs. Those organs go on to become organ systems. And those organ systems go on to become organisms. And remember, the first known existing organism was a black woman, which was an XX chromosome. Then once she lost 2.8% of her own genetic material, she became a man, which is an XY chromosome. This is why we have nipples and we don't use them. This is why you have to circumcise your son when you have him, because the skin on his penis is the skin that would have been on his vaginal walls. Has he stayed on the road to become a female, which science confirms for anything that you have for the first 6 weeks starts off as a female, doesn't become a male until that Y chromosome kicks in that was sent back across the placenta to the mother from the child. So with that being said, that is the story of how Eve came from Adam's rib. How mitochondrial DNA, Eve gene, mitochondrial Eve gene, right, which is a form of DNA, came from an atom. So we are literally self-made entities. Now with that being said, we come from a higher self, which is the cosmos. And we manifest ourselves as different cells, as individual cells. And we get our instructions genetically from the cosmos. It is a fact that quantum physics has proven that DNA is hooked up to the universe. Your DNA is constantly receiving information from what? Light. Okay? Light codes. Light is what? Electricity and magnetism. Radio wave frequency. Radio wave frequencies are electromagnetic signals constantly carrying specifically that which is called sound messages. So the universe is constantly speaking to you through your DNA. Now, why is it important? Your Adam's apple, okay, is actually what? Your vocal cords manipulating atoms. Now, what does this have to do with sonic geometry? We understand that atoms form shapes due to biotunes and certain frequencies. So I'll give you an example. A dodecahedron. Okay? When you look at the dodecahedron, if I'm pronunciating it correctly, right? When you open that up as what is known as a dodecahedron net, and remember, a net, like even if we was to look up a hexahedron, which is just a cube, but in sacred geometry, a cube is considered, the term for this hexahedron. Whenever you open up a shape, it's called a net. And when you open up a shape, it shows you what it looks like open up. So a cube, aka hexahedron, looks like a cross opened up. A dodecahedron looks just like a snowflake. Now, why is it important? Every chemical that you see on the chemical elements tables chart is associated with a certain geometric shape. And every element, all the 4 elements, okay, are also associated with certain sacred geometrical shapes. Now, hydrogen, okay, is associated with a dodecahedron. And the hydrogen shape also can be divided into intervals of 60 degrees. So the universe was also created from what originally? Hydrogen. First element in creation. And when they measured the oldest hydrogen atoms, they all had intervals of 60 degrees. So if the universe is actually one singular form and there's multiple universes, then we know that the universe is one giant dodecahedron ever expanding. And this would make sense because the dodecahedron shape is also associated with feminine aspects, and we know that the universe builds upon electrons, which is feminine energy. Remember, in science, positive and negative doesn't mean good or bad. It means masculine and feminine. So now, why is this important? Hydrogen, once again, is what? Associated with water. When we're talking about hydrogen and oxygen coming together to make the water molecule, which is also the most intellectual molecule in existence. And when you freeze water, right, under a certain temperature, it becomes a snowflake, right? And when you freeze frame a snowflake after you photograph it and you observe it, if you go right now and pull up snowflakes images, and then you pull up dodecahedron net, you'll see that a dodecahedron looks exactly like a snowflake, because all it is the atoms, okay, reconstructing themselves in the form of a dodecahedron in order to bring the physical shape of water into existence at a certain degree. Period. 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 So when you see Masons with the square and compass, what are they measuring? They're measuring geometric shapes that come manifested out of the flower of life. Now, why is this important? Your Adam's apple, okay? Your vocal cords that you use to produce reality while in this body is used to reshape atoms. This is why it's called your Adam's apple. So you think it's called the Adam's apple, but it's really the Adam's apple. And every day we speak things into existence, and we do what? Reshape our lives. How are you reshaping your life? Because you're literally reshaping your life. Geometric shapes. So think about all of the shit you spoke into existence. And think about all of the negative situations you could have avoided if you could have did one simple thing. Shut the fuck up. So with that being said, your mouth gets you in a lot of trouble because your mouth is used to literally speak everything into existence. So right now, even as I'm speaking to you and I'm giving you information, right? I'm geometrically reconstructing the coding that your brain downloads. Period. So that being said, when we go outside every day and we're talking about frequencies that we're speaking into existence, we have to understand these frequencies don't just come and just vibrate and don't do shit. These frequencies interface with subatomic particles and anatomical particles, and they reconstruct reality according to the consciousness of the projector. Period. So we have photons that we digest from light. They're biologically digested, and then they're emitted back out as biophotons. And then these biophotons interact with biofrequencies, right? And you can study biofrequencies, which are frequencies that are emitted by an organism after digesting light biologically. And these frequencies also can be studied in the form of bioenergetics, which is how you biologically input and output energy. So these now biophotons, right, attach themselves to atoms and reconstruct reality. But on top of that, as you speaking, okay, your intent, your psychology, your physiological state of being, you know, whether you're healthy or not, all of this plays a role in the things that come out your goddamn mouth. And depending upon what comes out your mouth will determine how you are shaping your reality. So anatomically, how are you building or how are you destroying? How are you ascending or how are you descending? So we have to understand this. Your voice, your throat chakra, is damn near one of the most powerful chakras you have. Because your throat chakra will make or break your reality. It won't really make or break mine too much unless I believe it. And this is why, you know, media and all of these motherfuckers who run this country spend so much goddamn money on advertising. Because they understand the science of shaping the way you think. Your brain analyzes the experience. Okay? But you have to ask yourself, who generates the experience if not you? So if you never told yourself to want a Snickers naturally, who told you to want one? The person who used their Adam's apple to reconstruct your reality to make this a temporary phenomena of inventory for you to consciously digest. Other than that, you wouldn't know what the fuck a Snickers was if somebody didn't speak that shit into existence. So what we have to understand is the Adam's apple is used for you to reconstruct reality. Now, when we're talking about mantras and tones and things like that, or your people chanting or your people chanting these frequencies, right, are what we call, you know, original sounds. So the Om frequency, as I broke down earlier in one of my lectures in my videos, I can't remember, the Om frequency, right, is used to, let's say, reconnect people synchronistically on the original radio wave frequency. So I broke down in one of my videos how life is just like music notes. And you have like, you know, do, re, mi, fa, sol. But I did that all off one octave of sound. I just hit different notes. So the original do, before I even went to re, you know, re, my, whatchamacallit, do, re, mi, fa, sol. Before I even went to the re, mi, fa, sol, when I just was on the do, that was the original extension of creation. So what we have to understand is the universe is in layers. So fa, sol might be humans and plants. But the original do is the original radio wave of the universe in this allegorical situation. So Om in this situation is the original sound. So this is why when you go to think for shit, or if somebody asks you a question and you don't know it, the first thing you say is and you go in your head. And 9 times out of 10 you look up and you say or somebody say, what's the answer to this? And you say let me think about it. And you look up. What are you looking up to? The pineal gland. Okay? The third eye, which also is called the third eye because it has actual tissues, a retina, and a certain physiological composition as a two in your head. So you're going because you are subconsciously reconnecting back with the original unified field layer of information. Okay? And you're channeling electromagnetic wavelengths, aka information, to the nervous system through the third eye, which is the pineal gland, which is the head of the goddamn central nervous system, which controls all sub-nervous systems, being the autonomic, the peripheral, the autonomic, the peripheral, the sympathetic. All of these different nervous systems that you have, the cranial, all of these different nervous systems that you have are controlled by the central nervous system, which is controlled by the pineal gland. So when you hit the okay, you're actually channeling into an unlimited field of information. You basically motherfucking Googling. So this is like, you know, the original Google. So with that being said, you're actually channeling into the original unified field of thoughts all across anything that has an electromagnetic field pulsating in existence today, and you're downloading the thought that you wish to have. This is why sometimes things just seem like they come to you, because they do. So with that being said, we have to understand the internet and the computer is made off the synchronistic natural abilities of the brain, which is the biological computer, in your mind, which is the original internet, which is the original one, the original omnipresent, the original all. So with that being said, we have to understand your atom's apple is used to reconstruct reality through what is known as sonic geometry, okay? And all of this is biologically downloaded and digested by you, who is the observer, in order to have the experience you wish to have. So now with that being said, imagine how many situations we could avoid it if you would have just shut your motherfucking ass up. So with that being said, your mouth will get you in a lot of trouble because you don't understand the power of the mouth. It's just like a gun. If you pick up a gun and you don't know what it is, you're liable to shoot your goddamn self because you don't understand the functioning mechanics of the weapon. So if you have a vocal cord and a fifth chakra, and you just happen to be today what we call a humanoid organism, you may get yourself in a lot of shit because you don't understand the power of speaking things into existence. And this is why the law of attraction is so deadly. Because what occultic practitioners do, or anybody that's evil does, is they don't force you to do shit. They trick you to do it willingly by manipulating you out of your own free will to believe in an agenda that's actually against yourself. So that being said, your brain is like a magnet. The left and right hemispheres are different polarities held together by actual crystals in the brain known as dendrites, which actually help it to interface like a magnetic computer. Now, with that being said, you attract things to this motherfucking magnet. And you attract things by conjuring up belief systems predicated upon what you download through your eyes. So that being said, this is why they say the eyes are the windows to the soul, because the eyes are the windows to the pineal gland, which is the seat of the soul, which gives out messages and information and commands to the nervous system to distribute to the body to perform as an expression of what the brain has digested as a form of reality. So if you're watching TV shows and you're seeing certain type of activities go on, or you're listening to certain music and you're listening to certain type of activities go on, that is what you are naturally going to try to track and use your vocal cords, aka your atom's apple, to reconfigure reality to manifest and bring into your existence. So understand, you only ask for things that you believe you want. So let's bring it back to the Snickers. You only ask for a fucking Snickers or a goddamn Skittle because somebody put that in your mind. And now you use your Adam's apple to reconstruct reality to configure a situation that will bring you an impossible experience of what it is you believe a Snickers and a Skittles is. But if nobody never told you that, or they didn't speak that to existence, you wouldn't know what that is, or you wouldn't know how to ask to attract that in your life. So we watching TV and we watching gangster movies, killer movies, prostitutes, fucking loving hip hop, all of this dumbass shit you watch every day, and you're out there trying to vocalize that. okay, and you're out there trying to speak that into existence, and you're trying to manifest that, that's only because you're trying to attract what somebody put inside your magnet. And so we have to understand the science of how this shit even works to fully understand how it's being used against you. So we have all of these goddamn scientific, biological engineers and geneticists and bio-motherfucking physicists in America. You mean to tell me nobody knows this shit? Yes, they do. After the goddamn World War II, America took all of Hitler's best scientists. You think that they don't know this shit? Yes, they do. But the problem is, you don't know this shit because you don't give a fuck to know this shit because it's not being put in your head. Therefore, you don't have the will to attract it because you don't have the consciousness that it even exists. To be conscious means to be aware. If you're not aware of something, you can't be conscious of it. And if you're not conscious of something, then you can't ever try to magnetically pull it into your field of experience. So with that being said, family, understand the science of the Adam's apple, aka Atom's apple, and how it molecularly reconstructs atoms according to the geometric figures that each atom conforms to, depending upon the sound wave that it's subjected to, and understand the composition of how important all of that understanding is in order to take back your own power in your life. If you do not conjure up your own reality, somebody will conjure it up for you. And if you are living on this planet Earth right now, there's only two ways you're living: by your own productions or by somebody else's productions. Do you make your own movies, or do you go to the movies to watch the ideas of another motherfucker? We never created killers. I never in my life thought about ripping somebody's face off and wearing it until I saw Leatherface in Chainsaw Massacre. So did that idea come from you, or did the idea of somebody being brutally massacred come from somebody else? Because now we have to ask ourselves, is somebody infringing upon our imagination? Image is to conjure up a picture, and the nation is to build. So you picture things in your mind and what you want to build upon. And are people using their own Atom's apple to reconstruct artificial simulations and images to put into your mind for you to actually build and include that into your physical nation that you conjure every day? Are they? Because I believe they are. So we have to ask ourselves, when we're talking about a belief system, systems first must be programmed, just like computer systems. So is your belief system pre-programmed and handed down to you and updated, just like motherfucking that iPhone got to update? Motherfucker, you think social engineering is not real? You think they don't update people's brains with more bullshit to keep bullshit going? So we have to ask ourselves, who the fuck is infringing upon your imagination? Who the fuck computed your belief system that you now compute and express every day? So now, once again, to become conscious means to what? Simply become aware. And if you're not aware that you're not manifesting your own motherfucking thoughts, then you're not aware that you're not speaking anything into existence that you truly believe or that you truly create. You're only speaking into existence and keeping alive the artificial reality of someone else's self-destructional, evil, diabolical idea. And with that being said, family, use your Adam's apples wisely, because you don't only construct reality for yourself, you construct it for anyone else who may become interested in or curious into what it is you're building and shaping. And so make sure that you build and shape all things righteously, not just geometrically what we can see, but geometrically, anatomically, that which we subconsciously cannot see but subscribe to every day. And with that being said, family, I love y'all. Peace. Peace, family. Welcome to YoungPharaoh.net. Subscribe now for exclusive access to me and all of my content for things such as lectures, Pharaoh Live Universities, children's videos, radio interviews, behind the scenes and documentaries, and much more. Be sure to subscribe now, family. Also, don't forget the internet YouTube promo code, which is YouTubeYP. Internet for a discount off your subscription. So with that being said, family, you get exclusive access to me and all my work. And as I continue to grow, I want y'all to grow with me. So with that being said, family, YoungPharaoh.net, subscribe now. Also follow me on social media, family. Instagram at Pharaoh_Allah, Twitter at Pharaoh_Allah, Facebook at Young Pharaoh, and subscribe now to my YouTube channel at Young Pharaoh. And with that being said, family, I'll see y'all in the classroom. Peace.